All right, here is the directed reading A for the tropical zone. Let's see, temperatures in the tropical zone are usually hot. Three major types of biomes in tropical zone: tropical rainforest, tropical desert, and tropical savanna. Um, for this section, it goes C, B, C, C, A, B, A. I'm going to go kind of fast through this one. Busy day today. And then for this section, it goes B, C, B, A, B, A. This is really important. The soil in a tropical rainforest is very thin and nutrient poor, which means it doesn't have many nutrients in it. It wouldn't be good for growing crops. Whereas, and then it says, whereas grass fires leave the tropical savanna soil nutrient enriched. Because tropical deserts are so dry, the soil is poor in organic matter. So even though there's a lot of things growing in a tropical rainforest, the soil is actually really thin. The reason is because there's so many things growing that they take all the nutrients out of the soil. All the nutrients are already in trees and plants and animals. Whereas in a savanna, during the dry season, all these grasses, they start to die, and then a fire will burn through the savanna and burn through all those grasses. But that's actually good because it puts a lot of nutrients back into the soil. So in the rainy season, then all those plants grow back. And then a desert is, that's just sand, so there's not very many nutrients. All right, I'm going to go to the directed reading now for temperate and polar zones. So between the tropics and polar zone is the temperate zone. The four biomes there are the temperate forest, temperate grassland, the chaparral, and a temperate desert. In a temperate forest, you're going to have deciduous trees, and those are the trees that lose their leaves. So seasonal trees for a seasonal climate zone, they drop their leaves in the fall and winter to conserve energy. There are also evergreen trees, which are the trees with needles, or conifer trees with cones. Would be a synonym, evergreen or conifer. And those keep their needles all year long. But yeah. All right. Most fertile soil of all the biomes is in the grassland, the temperate grassland. And again, the reason for that, just like the savanna, is that grass fires replenish the soil. So it's actually, fire is a good thing in nature sometimes, because it puts all the nutrients back into the soil and allows new life to grow. Chaparral vegetation has adapted to fire, similar to tropical savanna vegetation. There's low humidity and cloudless skies, so that causes the rapid temperature changes between day and night. It gets really hot in the day, but really cold at night because the atmosphere, there's no water to kind of capture the heat. All right, this goes BAD, ACD, BC. I don't know what a chamise is. Weird. All right, polar zone, 16 is polar zone, 17 is the tundra, almost 24 hours of night in the winter and 24 hours of daylight in the summer, although it's always glancing indirect sun, so it stays cold. Permafrost, the soil in the tundra, just the top of it thaws out in the spring and summer, but the rest of it is permanently frozen, so it's permafrost. This is interesting. This is an interesting ecology connection. The layer of the soil above the permafrost is muddy because of poor drainage, and that's a good breeding ground for insects, and then the birds feed on the insects. So it's kind of a connection between the soil and the insects and the birds, how that's all connected. 20 is the taiga, and conifers, again, are evergreen needle-leaf trees. 22 Conifer, their needles and flexible branches allow them to shed heavy snow so they're not damaged in the cold winters. And then fallen needles from conifers make the soil acidic, which is not good for most plants. So the floor of a taiga, the forest floor, is not great for other plants to grow. It's very acidic soil. Here we go. BBA, BAA. Microclimates are interesting, although we're not going to talk maybe we'll talk a little bit about them next week. So 30 is microclimate. Describe the climate of the alpine biome. In winter, temperatures are below freezing. In summer, average temperatures are from 10 to 15 Celsius, which isn't that cold. It's cool, but it's not that cold. So a microclimate is like a mini climate. There's your word part, micro. Yeah, it's a mini climate. So, like for example, in Hawaii, it's very tropical, but up in the mountains, there's a microclimate that's a cooler climate. Why can cities be warmer than surrounding rural areas? A city, unlike a surrounding rural area, has more buildings and pavement that absorb solar radiation instead of reflecting it. This heats the surrounding air. Also, there's less vegetation in the city to take in the sun's rays. So, because the city, there's so much concrete and glass and pavement, it absorbs a lot of heat, and that changes the climate in that small area. So a city is a microclimate because it's going to be warmer than the surrounding area. And that's important when we start talking about global climate change. All the cities and towns and pavement and roads and buildings, all that has an effect on the overall climate. So to me, that's interesting. All right, so those are your answers for the 2 direct readings. Make sure you make the corrections.